Hello, this is Mr. Mennecke here. I just wanted to take a moment to do a read aloud for you guys while we're at home. The book I have chosen is Furious George Goes Bananas. It is written, which means the author is Michael Rex, as well as the illustrator, the person who draws the pictures, is also Michael Rex. George was a great big ape. He lived in a beautiful jungle. One day, a man in a funny hat saw George and said, "Oh, what a big monkey. I want him." The man made a pile of bananas. I wonder why he would make a pile of bananas. When George went to eat the bananas, the man threw a sack over him. "I gotcha," said the man. The man tried to lift George, but George was too heavy. So the man cut holes in the sack and took George out of the jungle. Oh, I see, he made holes for his feet. Oh, and he's got bananas on a stick. I wonder why he needs those. They went to the zoo. "Hello," said the man in a funny hat to the zookeeper. "Would you like to buy my monkey?" "Well," said the zookeeper, "he's actually an ape. Monkeys have tails, but yes, I'll buy him." So he paid the man lots of money and put George in a little cage. I don't know if that's a little cage, but maybe little to the monkey or the ape. The floor was hard and cold. George couldn't run or climb. He couldn't even move. George hated being locked up. I'm sure we wouldn't like to be locked up either. George was furious. He went bananas. Look at him. Looks a little silly too, don't you think? So he's chasing the zookeeper. I wonder where the man is that caught him. George tied balloons to the zookeeper and he sent him sailing into the sky. Then he ran off. The man in the funny hat found George. He gave him a pile of bananas. Then he brought George to a construction site. Construction site? What do I do at a construction site? I'm looking up, oh, they're building in the back, so maybe that's a construction site. "My monkey would like a job. Would you like him to work for you?" asked the man in the funny hat. "Sure," said the foreman, "but he ain't a monkey, he's an ape. A monkey's got a tail." So the foreman paid the man, and George got to work. George carried heavy loads up to the men. It was a hard job, and it was very hot out. George got tired and thirsty, but the foreman wouldn't let him stop. Oh no. How would you do if you couldn't have water and it was hot out? Then some bricks fell on his head. Boom, 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 boom. George hated when bricks fell on his head. Would you like it if bricks fell on your head? That would kind of hurt, I think. I don't know. George was furious. He went ape. He smashed the bricks and dropped the foreman in a barrel. Then he ran off. The man in the funny hat found George and gave him more bananas and some cold water. Oh, that was nice of him. Then he brought George back to Broadway. "How would you like to put my monkey in the show?" he asked the director. "Sounds bofo," said the director, "but he's an ape, kid. Monkeys have," you guessed it, tails. Even on Broadway. "You don't say," said the man in the funny hat as he ran off with his bags of money. Where'd he get the money from? Guess the director took him. Took the ape maybe, I don't know. The director gave George lots of bananas and made him do all sorts of silly things on stage. Yep, he put him on Broadway. He rode a cow, crashed a bike, and wore goofy pajamas. Where is goofy pajamas? Oh, there they are. The audience laughed and laughed at him. George hated being laughed at. Sometimes I don't like to be laughed at unless I'm making a joke. You know what that did? That made George. He was very furious. They made a monkey out of him. Is he a monkey, though? Because monkeys have, you guessed it, tails. So George threw his banana peels everywhere. When the people tried to run away, they all slipped. George didn't mean for them to fall. He just wanted them to stop laughing. This guy, I don't think he looks like he's falling. He's going a little crazy. He's pulling his hair out. George ran away and hid. The man in the funny hat found him and gave him more bananas. Then he took George to a scientist. I heard that you're looking for a monkey to send into outer space. How about using George? Yeah, he'll do, said the scientist. But it is common knowledge that monkeys have, you guessed it, tails. And George is an ape. Yeah, ape schmate, said the man in the funny hat as he counted his pile of money. Greedy, greedy, greedy. Look at him. All that money. I could use that money. The scientist put George in a spacesuit. The rocket was ready. George had to do something. He did not want to go into outer space. He wanted to go home to the jungle. That rotten man in the funny hat was the one who should be going into outer space. I agree. He's making all this money on the ape because it's not a monkey. And the ape isn't making any money. So George grabbed the pile of money from the man in the funny hat and he tossed it into the rocket. The man chased after the money and George slammed the hat shut. Ooh, sneaky, sneaky George. As the rocket began to launch, George jumped on. The rocket blasted into the sky. The man in the funny hat banged on the window. He didn't want to go into outer space either. George leaped off and opened his parachute. Oh, he thought about this. George slowly drifted back down to Earth. And he landed safely in his home in the beautiful jungle. Isn't that a great story, everybody? Just want to let you know that I love you and I miss you and I can't wait for you guys to come back to school. And we'll see you later.